questions you'd prefer if I mute, right? Because you said there's a static or it's not there anymore. Okay, all good. It's all right. I'll be quick with it. Okay, let's get started. Hey everyone, thank you so much for coming back to another Surgecast with the team. I'm Ruthie, one of the co-founders and contributors at Surgence Labs, and today we have Henry with us at the podium, the co-founder and CEO of Streamex. For those who don't know, Streamex is a Nasdaq listed company that just launched ticker GLDY. That's GLDY, which is essentially the first tokenized gold product that they actually pays you to hold it. So, Henry, welcome to the stage, my man.
Awesome. No, thanks a lot for having me.
All right. So, we're going to talk about Goldie, what that actually is, how the yield in the ecosystem works. And Streamex also just dropped something called Aurum, which is a real time gold intelligence platform, too. So, there's a lot to get into. So, let's just start at the top. I'd like to just start with a opportunity for you to introduce yourself to the crowd. So, give us a quick version of your background. What were you doing before Streamex, and what pulled you into gold tokenization as well?
Awesome. No, great. Thanks a lot for having me today. Quick background on myself. It's very focused sort of in the Web3 and crypto space. And so I've been working in the industry for a number of years now. And so everything from starting in NFTs back in sort of 2019, 2020 to getting into more software development and early stage tokenization after that. And, with that, I also have a mining engineering degree. And so, Streamex really was the sort of the intersection of crypto and blockchain and tokenization, and then also the mining and commodities space. And so my co-founder and I started the company just over 3.5 years ago now, with the goal really to innovate within an industry that traditionally does not really see a lot of innovation, which is the mining and commodities industry. And so that was really the initial plan and the initial idea. And I think, everything that we've done up till now, especially with the, like you said, the Goldie launch, the GLDY and, Aurum and everything, it's I think a pretty exciting time for us. And so excited to get into it.
Yeah, do you guys feel like that this time right now is the best time ever for something for you guys to come into the market? Like the just timing makes sense. Looking at Hyperliquid's open interest on its like equities, tokenized equities products, and then you've got commodities like gold and silver that's just been doing a crazy run. Tokenized offerings around commodities and such as gold, for example, as well is the alpha, right?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Like, when we started Streamex, it was, 3.5, 4 years ago, when tokenization was still a very like nascent and early thing. People were talking about it. It was like, okay, maybe this might be something that happens, but it was definitely not as hyped up or as, it's talked about as it is right now. And so I think, for us being able to build back then when, it was still pretty, new, and be able to come into a market like it is now. You see with Hyperliquid, especially the oils contracts, all the perps on those, and the interest actually in tokenized real world assets. It's a very good time for us to be in this space. And, it's something that, it took us 3.5 years to be able to get to this point. And now, we're very lucky to be in a point where the market is very hot, there's a lot of interest, and we're able to really, capitalize and work with that.
100%. And you guys have been spending quite some time building the infrastructure before actually launching the product, right? I
Yep.
think it's around 3.5 years, you said. That's a long period for
Mhm.
sure. I think a lot of crypto companies and ecosystems get it backwards, come to market with an idea and a vision, then they build out the product later, right? So, what was the hardest part of that process?
Yeah, I think it was a long process, and I think it was something that was needed for us to be able to create what we had. And so, the infrastructure that we built before one before we went public, and two before we built GLDY, there was a lot of stuff to put in place. And so, with GLDY, for example, we have our auditor, we have our fund administrator, we have all the legal infrastructure and the structure set up for the actual asset, all of our partners on custody, everything. So like it's not something where we couldn't just really go on pump fund and launch the token. There's a lot of stuff that goes into the back end, even on the yield component. So the yield from leasing, our partners, Monetary Metals, getting fully integrated in with them to be able to distribute the yield and buy the gold there's a lot that goes into it, and the infrastructure that we built was not just designed for one asset. It was not just designed for Goldie. It was designed for us to be able to continuously launch additional assets on top of that as well. And so we're going to be launching silver this year, and it's pretty much a plug and play from the infrastructure that we've built. And so that was important. There's a lot of challenges that needed to be overcome to be able to get to this point. And I think that's the big part of what this is. It's still a very new industry, and so there's a lot of things that there's no playbook in terms of, hey, this is how you do it. There's a lot of things that you sort of need to figure out along the way.
100%. And there's a few kind of social proofs that caught my eye when I was looking at your ecosystem, because I guess for people to put their money into a tokenized solution for like gold and then also is yield bearing, I guess people get skeptical initially. They're like, wow, this is also a crypto offering now.
Yeah.
You guys are NASDAQ listed. You've also brought on the former Coinbase global controller as a CFO as well. And then you've also got the ex-CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald on the team. That's a very serious team. So I'm just wondering, how did you attract that?
Yeah, we've been very lucky with the people that we've been able to bring into our team, and so Morgan and myself, our co-founders, we started it just the two of us, and then we brought on some of the engineers and stuff that I'd been working with in the past and who are amazing at what they do. And then sort of over time we managed to surround ourselves with really interesting people, and people who I think they see the vision of tokenization, and they see the opportunity that it presents, and honestly they like the way that I think that we set it up, from a very institutional grade, from a very way for people to participate in a very compliant sense. And so a lot of that came from connections with people that we knew. And so with Christine, we were super lucky to be able to bring her on. She was the global controller at Coinbase. She's now our CFO. With Sean Matthews, we got introduced to him. I told him about what the company was, and explained sort of what our vision was for it. And we were lucky to be able to bring him on our board. And then even Mitch Williams, who's our CIO, he was the ex was a sole portfolio manager at Oppenheimer Funds, where he ran about $5 billion, and then he ran the sovereign assets for the Kuwaitis out of New York.
That's
So the Kuwaiti
huge.
Sovereign Wealth Fund. Yeah, and by being able to bring all these people together, we have amazing advisors as well, with Frank Juice for Sean Ruzin. Our other board members, Kevin Gopal, who is the Canadian CEO of BMO. So like our team is very strong in what we do, and I think we're extremely lucky to be able to have them on, and that they support the vision that we started 3.5 years ago.
100%. Let's break down Goldie as well. So ticker GLDY Goldie, for someone hearing about it for the first time, what is it and what makes it different from buying a gold ETF or holding physical gold, for example?
Yeah, no, really, really good question. And so gold traditionally, if you just sort of look at the market, whether it's a gold ETF or physical gold is the two sort of main ways that you would buy it. Traditionally, it costs you money to hold. And so with an ETF, for example, you would be paying 30 or 40 basis points to be able to hold it. And that's just the sort of the yearly management fee. With physical gold, you need to pay, one, a spread on purchasing the asset, and then two, most likely there's vaulting and insurance costs to the physical gold. And so both of those options actually erode at the amount of ounces that you hold over time, because you have to pay those essentially yearly. With GLDY and the way that we've set it up, because it pays you a yield in additional gold every single month as a dividend, you actually grow the amount of ounces, and it is the only asset that pays you to be able to hold gold. This process for the yield is a very institutional process. It's something that we're working with a group called Monetary Metals. We have an exclusive partnership with them for yield and gold leasing. And so that is something that has been around for a number of years. Monetary Metals are by far the largest in the industry in that space. And with that, what we do is, instead of the gold just sitting in a vault and not really doing anything and being that sort of quote unquote pet rock that sort of just sits there, we make it active. And so we put it on lease with large manufacturers and jewelers, refiners, people who are using it, and companies that are using it as working capital. And these are large institutions, publicly traded, 5 billion market cap, 6,000 stores, and they pay us essentially to be able to use it. They have the right to possession and alteration of form, and so they can change it into, say, a chain or a ring, whatever they're making. The lease is always over collateralized 110%, and it's also insured on two levels. And so it's by Allianz and Lloyd's of London. And so, overall, this whole process is very institutional, like I said, and it's something that allows us to essentially get yield on gold and be able to pass that yield on to holders with at that 3.5% rate. And so I think, right now it's something that we've seen a ton of interest, especially from ETFs and asset managers who want to potentially allocate GLDY within their funds, but also just gold investors in general who, want to own an asset that is never being invaded, and an asset that is actually paying you to be able to hold and is still backed 1-to-1 by the physical gold itself. And so that's something, I think it's a very unique product for the market. It's a very exciting product for the market because it has only ever been enabled through tokenization with what we're doing. And it's something that, we're continuing to push. We just launched around a month ago. And so it's a newer product that we're still getting out there, but it's a very exciting time for us.
Yeah. I think it's such a novel concept. Like people have never thought that they would be able to earn yield off their gold holdings. It is just like that pet rock. I know definitely a lot of my Web2 friends might just be purchasing gold on exchanges or physically and just holding it and not doing anything. The ability to earn 3.5% on average APY on that gold, to be paid in gold as well, is very interesting. Initially, people will be like, "What? How is that generated?" But those business cases that you just listed of how that yield is passed on back to the investors and the holders is so novel. I don't think I've ever heard anyone in the at least in the Web3 ecosystem place offering an offering like that. So
Yeah.
kudos to the team.
No, I think just, yeah,
And
I mean, and,
yeah,
and quickly, I think it's something that is really important to note is that the yield itself is not from any sort of staking or any sort of, DeFi components. It's from a real world activity. And so, the ability for lending and staking and everything is something that, will most likely be coming, but it's not the main source of the yield, right? And so it takes away a little bit of that counterparty risk that we see. And so it makes it so the actual yield, the inherent yield to the asset is very stable and very institutional. And then there will be opportunities to get that additional yield from, potentially staking where, hey, you might get 3.5% inherent to the asset, but then you have the ability to lend it out and get another 3%. Now all of a sudden you have 6.5% if you want to take that risk on the secondary sort of staking and stuff as well. I just wanted to put that out there too.
100%. And you guys have Anchorage, Coinbase Prime, T0 as custodians, and then Chainlink as well for proof of reserve. So you guys have taken auditing and transparency very serious, which is something that a lot of DeFi investors look for before they start to allocate, especially because of all protocol in the industry, which have been quite insane. So that's a lot of infrastructure for the product. Why do you think all that was necessary? Are you guys dealing with a lot of like institutional investors too and partners, big whales?
Yeah. So the infrastructure and everything was really the most important part of GLDY, and also the longest thing that took to set up. And so, for example, being able to have custody within custodians that ETFs and large asset managers and funds and VCs and stuff that they use. So Coinbase Prime, Anchorage, T0, also Fireblocks, the ability for people to hold the asset where they want. And then the other part is our auditor, Eisner Amper, who are probably the number one. I think they got an award, number one fund auditor in the world, and so a very well respected audit firm that will provide monthly attestations and quarterly audits to verify that the gold is there, and the GLDY that has been minted is actually representative of the gold that exists. And then the other piece is on the Chainlink side, the ability for us to give that third party verification of the audits on chain and show people, hey, the proof of reserves are there. This is how much gold is backing GLDY. And so these were things that were very important for us to set up, and very important for us to give comfort to people who want to participate in an asset like this, because it is a new asset. It is something that people need to be able to understand, and when they see it, when they sort of peel back the layers of, hey, how does this exist? How is the fund set up? What is the actual attestations and audits for the asset? that they look at that, and it actually gets better. It doesn't get worse. It's not something where they're wondering, hey, what is actually backing this asset. And so that's
Yeah.
something that was very important for us to be able to do. And I think for investors coming to the asset, especially the more institutional investors, they need that to be able to feel that comfort on hey, okay, I know actually exactly what I'm buying, and it is something that I understand. It's something that's verified, and it is something that is there.
Understood. At the moment, is there any restrictions or requirements for investors that look to purchase Goldie?
Yeah, so right now it is limited to accredited investors, and there is a $25,000 minimum on the purchase, and so that is, it's a legal requirement for the Reg D issuance that we have set up. With that, there are a couple things that we are working on to be able to make it so anyone can be able to purchase the asset, and there will be no minimum on the asset. And so I will say that those are things that the team is actively working on. They are things that will be coming in the next couple months. It takes time with that. We're working with the SEC and other regulators to be able to do that, and so it's not something that we can do right away. We wanted to be able to get the asset out as this Reg D issuance. The issuance structure, how it is right now, is very similar to Ondo's OUSG or BlackRock's BIDL fund. And so the way that we see it is we can start bringing in the more institutional orders and the bigger orders as we start, and are continuing to push forward on all of those. And then as the market develops, then we can open it up to retail, and really grow the issuance through people being able to maybe buy $1,000 in GLDY, or $500 in GLDY, and have that market really develop. And so those are things that they're there right now, but they will not be there for forever.
100%. Now, gold has been on an incredible run recently, and central banks are buying at record levels as well. So, what's your read on where we are in this cycle and why tokenized gold matters specifically right now?
Yeah, no, I think it's a really interesting time for gold, where we obviously we last year we saw it run up to 5,500, $5,600 in January, and last year it was up over 100% on the year, and right now it's
Yeah,
pulled
went
back a
from a
little bit.
stable asset to a volatile,
Oh yeah, I know.
volatile upside, asymmetric upside over the
Yeah.
past few months.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I think it's something that we see as, one, very exciting, and two, I think there a lot of the thesis on why gold has run up that much, even though it's pulled back to that 4,600, $4,700 mark, it hasn't changed. I think the thesis for investing in gold right now is still the same. It's something, when something goes up over 100% in a year, it's probably going to have a pullback. It can't really go up for forever, which I think is healthy for the market. But if you look at debt levels, the uncertainty in the world, all these macroeconomic trends that are going on worldwide, the thesis for owning gold, and at least having a portion of your portfolio in gold, is still very strong. And so by us being able to provide an additional 3.5, gold itself typically returns around 8% per year. If you add 3.5 to that, all of a sudden you're getting sort of an 11% uncorrelated return to equities, to everything else in the world. I think GLDY and gold itself is an asset that you should allocate maybe 10% of your portfolio to, if you're something that really wants to hedge against any of these sort of macroeconomic trends. 20% of your portfolio is pretty safe, and I think in gold right now, and especially if you can have an asset that gives you yield on top of that, very similar to treasuries, it's sort of a no-brainer for people to participate in. And that we're just working on getting that message out there, where it's, hey, if you want to own gold, GLDY is the best way to do it. And I think gold right now is a very, very strong bet, especially going through 26 into 27 and 28.
100%. You guys recently launched Aurum, which is also a live gold intelligence platform. So, what is that, and how can these people actually use that to inform their gold asset decisions and commodity decisions?
Yeah, yeah. So Aurum is something that we launched sort of in conjunction with GLDY, as a way for people to get data on gold. And if people are interested in purchasing gold, you want to sort of have one spot for you to be able to go and say, hey, okay, this is all the main data that I need to see. This is the price. This is the global central bank returns, or global central bank holdings. This is the ETFs, what they look like. Here's a calculator on what owning GLDY might look like compared to owning an ETF or owning physical. And so it really is an intelligence platform, and a platform for people to see data on gold all in one spot. And so we launched that Probably 3 weeks ago, and are pushing people to go and check it out. It was mostly something for me where I was out there and I was looking at gold data, and I'm looking at all these fragmented sites and having to skip across a bunch of tabs to see all the data that I want, and I'm like, hey, what if we just put this sort of in one spot? And so it was something that was honestly solving a problem for us, and we're like, hey, maybe we should just open this up to other people as well. And so I think it's one of the best gold dashboards out there for all of the information that you want to see on gold.
Hell yeah. I guess if people want to learn more about that, they can visit the Streamex page and look more at the content that gets published around both Streamex and Aurum, right?
100%. Yeah, aurum.streamex.com. You can go there from the streamex.com link. It's yeah, check it out.
Okay, cool, beautiful. So in terms of that, it also tracks everything from spot price, ETF, assets under management, central bank reserves, yield comparisons, and news alerts, right? So
Yep.
it feels like maybe your own Bloomberg terminal-esque feed of data right around gold to keep you up to date in one place. That's built for now everyone, including yourself, but then to everyone else now
Yep.
that's looking to get in. Is it free and there's no paywall, right? So
Yep.
what's the play here? Is it ultimately a funnel into Goldie, or is there something else that you see as well beyond that?
Yeah, no, 100% free. Yeah, 100% free. So there's no paywall on it. It's not a $27,000 a year subscription like Bloomberg. It's something honestly we wanted to give people the ability to see all this information all in one spot, and with that, it also acts as a funnel, like I said, into GLDY and seeing different information on it. And so the big thing on there that I would check out if you're interested in investing in gold is compare an investment in an ETF, compare an investment in physical gold, and then compare that to GLDY. And so you can take a look and say, hey, I want to invest $10,000 in gold right now. What is the best way for me to do that? You can compare between all your options, and then you can take a look and say, okay, wow, GLDY with that 3.5% yield provides me a much better return than if I was investing in anything else. And so it acts both as sort of a data funnel and a data pipeline for people to see all this gold information, but also gives them the ability to see, hey, okay, wow, this company is also making a very unique sort of tokenized gold product as well. And so I think it's a little bit of a funnel on that side too.
100%. I think when we were looking through the platform as well, one thing that we noticed is that it tracks Dubai to Mumbai to London arbitrage spread, for example, in real time as well. And what's the significance of that for gold traders as well and people coming over to the platform?
Yeah, that was something that was really important for just me to be able to put that in there, because I don't know if you see on Twitter, or if you're looking at gold, people are always talking about like the Shanghai premium or the Dubai premium on physical gold. And normally what we see is spot price in Shanghai, for example, trades 100 or $150 more than spot price at in London or in New York. And so what that allows people to see is, okay, one, the Shanghai markets are open on different times than the London and New York's markets. So you can sort of track on saying, okay, maybe gold is going to open a little bit higher today if it's like a Monday, for example, you're looking on a Sunday. And or maybe you think that gold is in very high demand sort of in the Asia region of the world compared to the West. And that's something where I was always looking as like, okay, I hear about this all the time, but I can't actually see it anywhere. And
Yeah.
so we wanted to put that all in one spot, and it's just a way for people to have more information on, hey, gold is an asset that trades worldwide. There are different markets worldwide. It's the same thing, it's the same element, it's the same metal, but regardless of regarding where it is in the world, it might trade at a little bit of a premium or a little bit of a discount, and that's just because of the demand that you see in that
Yeah.
market. And so that was something that I wanted to be able to show people and have that as a thing for people to be able to see.
100%. You guys have recently disclosed 100 mil plus in indications of interest as well before launch. How has early traction been since Goldie went live?
Yeah. So this is a really important thing. So the indications and everything that we had prior to launch, every single asset manager and every single institution is still there. And so I think the biggest misconception and the misinterpretation that we've seen from people within the market specifically is, I think a lot of people are expecting $100 million day one all of a sudden going in. That's something the market or those institutions simply don't work like that. And so for them, for example, they wanted to see the asset live, see the ability for them to trade it. They needed to go through KYC. ETFs, for example, needed to update their prospectuses and have their legal teams review the asset as it was live and trading. And so with us, the biggest thing right now is we're continuing to close and continuing to work with all of those funds, institutions, people that were making those indications to be able to convert those into binding orders, and all of them are still there. And so the biggest thing for us is just making sure that people are realistic on timelines for an ETF to modify a prospectus. It's between 90 and 120 days, and so those are things that are simply just out of our control, but we are continuing to work to onboard and bring all of those orders in. And I think it's something that over the next couple months, you're going to see the majority of those orders piling in, and it will be a very exciting time for us. It's what we're working on every single day. And what I will say is those are not the only orders that we have. Now that we've launched, there are far more that also talking with us and providing those indications, and we're working on bringing them in as well. And so I think over the next couple of weeks and next couple of months, you're going to see some information and news coming out on that side about a lot of those what they're going to be doing. And it's it's very exciting for us, and it just takes time.
Yeah, 100%. It sounds like a lot of these conversations that you're having right now is just going to compound and
Mhm.
compound further with new interests that come in once people see the momentum and the names that are coming into the ecosystem and these
Yeah.
indications being fulfilled.
No, I think so
Um,
as well. And I think just like overall, something important to note is when you launch a new asset, and especially a new tokenized asset, it's something that people need to educate themselves a bit about, and we help educate them about. And it's like anything. People want to see data, and then people they want to feel comfortable with it. And I think for us, it's we provided a ton of information to everyone, and everyone's feeling I think pretty good about it. It's just you need the legal sign off, you need the all that sort of back end stuff to actually be able to make a big commitment like that.
yeah, 100%. And even then as well, like I presume you guys are talking to a lot of Web2 fund allocators as well,
Yeah,
and just that process of them putting money into tokenized offerings like this is a whole process in themselves as well,
yeah,
right? Security checks, money transfer, everything.
yeah, 100%.
Uh, what does the next 6 to 12 months look like for Streamex? More commodities, more products on the platform.
Yeah, yeah, no. So I'm really excited about the next couple months. I think it's something where one, being able to continue to grow GLDY and being able to continue to grow AUM and push it out there. That's a really big focus, obviously, of the firm. And then as we continue on, we're going to be launching a silver asset, and so a tokenized silver asset that will be, I think, very exciting for people. It will be a much more sort of retail and retail focused asset, allowing for anyone to participate in it. And so it'll be a slightly different structure than GLDY, but I think it's something that we see a lot of interest in, and we're very excited to be able to bring out into
Yeah.
the market, and have some very unique sort of partnerships and stuff lined up for doing that. That's something that we expect to be coming sort of Q2 of this year, sort of in the next couple months. And then as we get into the end of the year, we'll have both the gold and the silver asset, growing both of those, and also looking at other commodities too. And so, into the end of the year, we're going to be looking at royalties and streams and bringing those to market in a tokenized form, looking at copper, oil, and gas into next year as well. And so overall, our goal really is, and our focus really is within the commodity space. And I think the TAM of the industry and the interest that been seeing in tokenized commodities is very strong right now. And so we're very excited to be able to bring all of these assets out into the market and provide value-added products for people to own, with a yield component, with different sort of DeFi mechanics too. It's something that we're really looking forward to be able to bring to market.
Yeah, that's amazing. Is what are the requirements going to be for the silver? Is it still going to be that 25K entry, or is it going to be a bit
No,
different?
most likely there'll be no minimum on the silver asset. You'll be able to participate in DeFi. You'll be able to buy it on centralized exchanges. It'll be much easier for people to
Cool.
own.
Yeah, that's going to be very exciting.
Yeah.
If someone listening right now wants to explore GLDY or check out Aurum, where do they go and how shall they get started? Do you have any tips for them as well?
Yeah. So the easiest way to do it is really just go to streamex.com, and you can either one buy GLDY, or you can click on the tab that says Orem and check out the dashboard and do the calculator and everything. We have a couple videos and some walkthroughs on, both on Twitter, on the website, being able to show people, hey, this is how you can purchase GLDY. And so GLDY can be bought at app.streamex.com. You can go there through the website and you can, participate in the asset. It's a pretty simple onboarding process for individuals. You go through KYC similar to Coinbase or any other centralized exchange. There's a couple extra things just because of the accredited investment requirement that you need to fill out. And so you need to show your proof of accreditation on purchasing the asset, and then you can go and you can purchase. You can purchase with Wire, you can buy it with crypto, USDC, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and purchase and buy some GLDY and start getting yield on your gold holdings. And so that's something that if anyone has any questions about the onboarding process or any questions about what the asset is or how it all works, always feel free to reach out to me. You can find me on Twitter at Henry McPhie _. And I'm more than happy to answer them. Literally just send me a DM or tag me in a post, and I'd be happy to walk you through. But yeah, app.streamex, streamex.com. Go take a look at everything, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions.
Love that. Henry, this is great. Really appreciate you coming on. The gold industry and space is changing fast, and it feels like Streamex right now is at the center of that shift, especially within the CT crowd, and then within the intersect between the Web3 investors and then the Web2 funds as well. So everyone, make sure you're following at Streamex. That's STREAM, Stream, and then add an EX at the end. And also, obviously, Surgence _IO. Thank you, Henry, so much for giving us your time today. And
Yeah,
we'll be back with another cook soon and do an update on the ecosystem in a few months. Thank you
amazing.
so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, Strek. Henry, man, that was good. So we'll